Listen, you've spent your whole life pouring into people who never poured back into you. You've been showing up for others when they couldn't even show up for themselves. And somewhere along the way, you forgot that you deserve that same love, that same effort, that same commitment. But today, we're flipping the script. Because this season of your life is not about proving your worth to others. It's about recognizing it for yourself. You can't heal the world while you're falling apart. You can't lift others while you're drowning. You can't be the backbone of everyone else while your own foundation is cracking. This is your awakening moment. This is your turning point. This is the season where you choose you, not out of selfishness, but out of survival, not to abandon others, but to finally stop abandoning yourself. Say this out loud. I deserve the same love I give. My peace matters. My time is valuable. I choose me first this time. Because when you start valuing yourself, watch how quickly the world changes. Watch how people treat you differently. Stop proving your worth, because the moment you feel the need to prove it, you silently accept the lie that you might not have it. You've spent years performing, being the strong one, the reliable one, the forgiving one, hoping someone would finally look at you and say, yes, you matter. But listen to me. You don't exist to convince people that you deserve to be respected, loved, or chosen. Your value is not a negotiation. It is not something you earn. It's something you already carry. Think about how many times you've bent yourself into shapes that didn't belong to you, just to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You stayed late at work, not because you wanted to, but because you wanted someone to notice that you're responsible. You bought gifts, sent texts first, carried conversations, remembered birthdays, showed up at events, supported people through storms. And yet somehow when it was your turn to need someone, suddenly everyone became busy, tired, unavailable. You kept proving you're loyal to people who never applied for the job of being loyal to you. Some of you have been drowning emotionally while pretending you're fine, just so others wouldn't think you're weak. You swallow pain, laugh at jokes that hurt you, and smile when you want to scream, because you hope, maybe, just maybe, someone will see your pain without you having to speak it. But understand this, people can only recognize your value when they are capable of valuing themselves. Broken people can appreciate gold. They only question why it shines so bright. Look at relationships. You've loved deeply, not because you wanted validation, but because love is your nature. But somewhere in that journey, you started loving to be loved back. You started giving to be chosen. You started sacrificing to be seen. You tried to prove that you're worthy of staying for, worthy of fighting for, worthy of commitment. But the truth is, the right person doesn't need to be convinced to stay. The wrong person will make you work for what you should already have, while the right one will recognize your value without a presentation, without an argument, without a test. Imagine a diamond sitting on a street sidewalk. Most people will kick it, ignore it, or step over it. Not because it isn't valuable, but because they don't recognize value when it isn't displayed behind glass, under bright lights with a price tag. Some people don't see your worth because they were never meant to own something priceless. Stop forcing them to understand what God handcrafted. In friendships too. Have you noticed that you're always the one planning, initiating, checking up, organizing, motivating? The moment you stop reaching out, the whole relationship collapses and you start questioning, am I really that easy to replace? No, you were just the connection. They were just plugged in for energy. You were the giver and they were the consumer. You didn't lose friends. You stopped fueling them. You didn't become less valuable. They just got used to receiving from you without earning you. At work, you take on tasks no one else wants. You work through exhaustion. You never complain. You deliver excellence. But somehow, someone with half your effort gets half the work and twice the praise. That's when you realize performance doesn't guarantee recognition. Excellence doesn't guarantee elevation. When the environment is blind, even brilliance goes unnoticed. Stop proving you deserve promotion. Start positioning yourself where excellence is the standard, not the sacrifice. And let's talk about family. Some of you have been the emotional support system, the problem solver, the peacekeeper. You're the one everyone calls when life collapses. But when you need support, suddenly your strength becomes your cage. They assume you don't break because you don't show it. You're not appreciated. You're expected. You keep proving, I'm capable, I'm responsible, I can handle it. But listen, your ability has been mistaken for obligation. You don't owe your strength to anyone. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is step back and let them stand on their own legs. Every time you try to prove your worth, you hand someone else the pen to write your value. But they don't know your story. They don't know the battles you fought silently. They don't know the nights where tears soaked your pillow but you still woke up and showed up. They don't know the dreams you buried so others could breathe. They see the result, not the cost. Your worth is not measured by how many people choose you. It's measured by the truth that you were chosen the moment you were created. You don't shine because someone sees you. You shine because that's who you are. A star doesn't dim because someone closes their eyes. A diamond doesn't lose value because someone walks past it. Gold remains gold even when buried in dirt. Stop explaining yourself. Stop shrinking to be accepted. Stop begging to be understood. Stop working to earn what already belongs to you. When you finally stop proving your worth, you stop placing your value in the hands of people who were never qualified to define it. You begin to walk differently, talk differently, love differently. You stop chasing and start attracting. You stop settling and start standing. You stop asking, am I enough? And you start declaring, I am more than enough. Because you never needed to prove your worth. You only needed to remember it. Protect your peace, because peace is not just silence or escape. It is the foundation of your strength, clarity, and purpose. You can have success, money, popularity, relationships, even a house full of people, but without peace, none of it feels like a blessing. Peace is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of alignment. It's knowing who you are, what you stand for, and what you refuse to tolerate anymore. Some people think protecting your peace means isolating yourself from the world, but it's deeper than that. It means guarding your mind like a gate, deciding who gets access to your thoughts and who gets to influence your spirit. Because the truth is, not every voice deserves space in your head, not every energy deserves a seat at your table, and not every person deserves a front row ticket to your life. Look at your day-to-day life. You wake up with good energy, grateful, ready to start fresh. And then one negative message, one disheartening conversation, one argument, one reminder of someone who hurt you can drain everything. Suddenly your day is not led by intention but by reaction. You're not leading life, you're surviving it. Protecting your peace means deciding what gets to steal your emotional currency and what doesn't. Just because someone throws negativity your way does not mean you are obligated to catch it. Think about work. You may be passionate, hardworking, driven, but there might be coworkers who constantly complain, gossip, compete, or create drama just to feel relevant. They don't just drain your time, they drain your spirit. You go to work with purpose, but you leave exhausted not because of the workload, but because of the people who carry storms within them. Protecting your peace at work could mean taking breaks alone, avoiding unnecessary conversations, stopping the habit of explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, and choosing silence over engaging in negativity. Sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is not reacting at all. In relationships, protecting your peace means not allowing love to come at the cost of your sanity. It means realizing that a relationship that constantly demands your healing while offering none is not love. It's emotional labor disguised as loyalty. You can care deeply for someone and still choose distance. You can love someone and still walk away if their presence becomes a battlefield instead of a home. If every conversation ends in conflict, if every attempt to communicate turns into blame, if every step forward pulls you 3 steps back, your heart deserves safer ground. You shouldn't have to bleed emotionally just to prove you're committed. Even family, yes, family can threaten your peace. Sometimes it's the voices that say, you owe us, you changed, or why are you so distant? They don't understand that you're not rejecting them, you're protecting yourself. Just because someone is blood doesn't mean they get unrestricted access to your emotional space. You can honor people and still set boundaries. You can be respectful and still be unavailable. Peace doesn't require permission. Protecting your peace also means protecting yourself from your own thoughts. Overthinking, guilt, regret, replaying conversations, trying to fix what's beyond your control, these are battles fought silently and alone. You might smile outside, but inside your mind is a battlefield of what-ifs, fears, memories, and scenarios that never happened. Your peace is destroyed not by events but by the meaning you attach to them. Sometimes the battle is not people, it's your mindset. Learning to release control, to accept what cannot be changed, to forgive yourself for decisions made with the knowledge you had at the time is part of protecting your peace. Look at your phone. Notifications, messages, endless scrolling, comparison, opinions, expectations. You are plugged into the world 24/7 but disconnected from yourself. Protecting your peace might mean turning the phone off, not responding instantly, detoxing from social media, or muting people who trigger anxiety. You don't have to be available to everyone all the time. You are allowed to go missing from the world to return to yourself. Protecting your peace might also mean changing your environment. Some places drain you because they remind you of who you used to be, not who you're becoming. A room full of complaining minds will make gratitude feel strange. A room full of dreamers makes ambition feel natural. Sometimes you don't need therapy. You need new surroundings. Not better people, just different people. And sometimes protecting your peace means learning to sit with silence without rushing to fill it. You don't always need noise, entertainment, conversations, or distractions. Peace grows in stillness. Healing happens in solitude. Clarity comes when you finally listen to the voice inside you that's been drowned out by the world. The moment you start protecting your peace, people may say you've changed. They may call you distant, selfish, cold, detached. They won't understand that. You're not abandoning them. You're returning to yourself. You're no longer tolerating what keeps you spiritually homeless. You're no longer entertaining what keeps your soul in survival mode. You're building a life where calm is normal, not rare. Protect your peace not because you're fragile, but because you're valuable. Peace is the soil where purpose grows, where wisdom speaks, where strength regains power, and where God whispers direction. Peace is not something you find, it's something you choose over and over again. Learn to say no, because every time you say yes to something that drains you, you say no to something that could have grown you. So many people are exhausted not because life is heavy, but because they keep carrying what isn't theirs to carry. You are tired not from doing too much, but from doing too much for the wrong people. You don't need to be available to everyone, every time, for everything. Your life is not a 24/7 emotional service department. You have a heart, a mind, a soul that needs rest, boundaries, and intentional space. Some of you say yes out of fear, fear of disappointing someone, fear of being misunderstood, fear of being labeled selfish. But hear this. Saying no doesn't make you selfish, it makes you responsible. Responsible for your peace, your energy, your time, your emotional health. You were not made to be a people-pleasing machine. You were made to be a human with limits, purpose, and direction. A river that flows everywhere becomes a flood. A river that flows with boundaries becomes a force of nature. Think about friendships. You're always the one who listens, who drops everything when someone needs help, who drives across town at midnight, who stays on hours-long phone calls, comforting people, who vanish when your world breaks. And there's nothing wrong with being supportive, but when support becomes obligation and obligation becomes identity, you lose yourself. You say yes because you want to be seen as a good friend. But a real friend doesn't demand your sacrifice. They respect your boundaries. When someone only values you for what you give, not who you are, that relationship depends on your exhaustion. Saying no is not pushing people away, it's filtering who deserves to stay close. Look at family. Many carry emotional burdens passed down through generations, being the peacemaker, the caretaker, the problem solver. You say yes because family comes first, but that phrase becomes a trap when it means you always come last. Just because you're related to someone doesn't mean you must carry the weight of their decisions. If a relative keeps borrowing money and never changes their life, your yes is not love. It's enabling. If someone constantly insults, controls, or drains you, sharing blood doesn't give them the right to drain your soul. You can say no and still love them. You can say no and still be loyal. Boundaries do not break families, they heal them. At work, you take on extra tasks because you don't want to be seen as difficult. You work overtime because you hope someone will notice your dedication. You cover for others, take on roles not in your job description, and say yes to every request, even when your plate is full. But work has no finish line. If you keep saying yes, they will keep giving more. Sometimes the most professional answer is, I can't take that on right now. If you don't protect your time, work will consume everything you have and still ask for more. A job will replace you in days if something happens to you. Don't sacrifice your life for a title. Social pressure is another trap. Invitations, events, gatherings, people expect your presence even when you're mentally drained. You show up because you don't want to seem rude. Even when your soul is tired, your body is begging for rest, your mind needs silence. But showing up everywhere doesn't make you committed. It makes you unavailable to yourself. You do not need to attend every argument, every drama, every outing. You can choose peace over participation. You can stay home and choose recovery over obligation. Your life doesn't need constant activity to be meaningful. And relationships, romantic relationships, often test your boundaries the hardest. You say yes to behaviors that hurt you because you're afraid saying no might make them leave. You compromise your standards, tolerate disrespect, accept mixed signals, forgive repeated mistakes just to keep someone close. But if someone leaves because you finally set boundaries, they never deserved access in the first place. Love that requires you to abandon yourself is not love, it's sacrifice disguised as affection. Saying no can save your heart, your identity, your future. Learn to say no to yourself too. No to procrastination. No to scrolling endlessly. No to toxic habits. No to the voice that says you don't deserve more. No to staying where you've outgrown. Boundaries aren't only external, they're internal. Sometimes the battle is not with others, but with the version of you that keeps settling. We often think no is rejection, but sometimes no is protection. You're not rejecting opportunities, you're protecting your priorities. You're not rejecting people, you're protecting your purpose. No is a full sentence. It doesn't require apology, explanation, justification, or permission. You don't owe a PowerPoint presentation on why you're choosing yourself. When you start saying no, you reclaim your life from expectations. You stop being controlled by pressure and start being guided by purpose. You have to understand that every yes costs something. It costs time, energy, attention, emotion. Your yes is currency. Spend it wisely. Not every request deserves a withdrawal from your soul. When you start valuing your yes, people start respecting your no. Boundaries don't push away the right people. They reveal who was only there for what you provided. Learn to say no because your destiny is too big and your life is too short to be lived on other people's terms. Heal before you give again because you can't pour clean water from a cracked vessel. You can have the purest intentions, the biggest heart, the most selfless spirit. But if you give while you're still bleeding, you turn love into labor and kindness into exhaustion. Healing is not selfish, it's preparation. It's repairing what life shattered before you attempt to build again. Too many people are trying to love with wounds instead of wisdom, trying to help while they're still hurting, trying to carry others while their own knees are trembling. Healing doesn't mean you stop loving, it means you stop sacrificing yourself in the process. Think about relationships. You gave someone everything. You loved with your whole heart. You trusted deeply. You believed without hesitation. But when it ended, you didn't just lose a relationship, you lost a part of yourself. Now someone new comes along, and even though they mean well, your heart flinches at kindness, your mind overthinks peace, and your spirit prepares for a fight that doesn't exist. You're not cold, you're still wounded. You're not unloving, you're still recovering. If you enter a new relationship before healing from the last, you won't just carry memories, you'll carry fear, insecurity, and expectations based on past pain. Heal before you give again, or you will punish the next person for the sins of the last. Look at friendships. You were the loyal one, the listener, the secret keeper, the supporter, the one who showed up. You poured into people who only called when they needed something, not when they had something to give. Eventually your heart got tired, not because you stopped caring, but because you cared past the point of depletion. Now new people approach you with genuine intentions, but your guard is up like a fortress. You judge sincerity through a lens clouded by betrayal. You avoid vulnerability, not because you don't value connection, but because you're still healing from a world that took advantage of your open heart. If you don't heal, you'll isolate yourself not for protection, but out of fear. Family wounds cut even deeper. Maybe you grew up being the fixer, the peacemaker, the emotional sponge, absorbing everyone's chaos. Your worth became tied to how much you could solve and how much pain you could carry. Now as an adult, you continue giving, rescuing, and managing everyone else's emotions, but inside, you're exhausted, resentful, and unheard. You can't build a future while still carrying the weight of childhood wounds. If you don't heal, you become the person who loves others while silently breaking inside. Healing means giving your inner child the voice they never had, the safety they never felt, the rest they were never allowed. Look at work and ambition. You hustle non-stop, work harder than everyone, never take breaks, never ask for help, all because you're trying to prove you're enough. That's not drive, that's trauma wearing business attire. If you succeed without healing, success won't satisfy you. It will scare you because the moment you pause, your pain catches up. You chase goals to escape emptiness, not to fulfill purpose. Heal before you give again, or your achievements will feel like distractions instead of blessings. Healing also means confronting your own patterns. Sometimes you're not just hurting, you're hurting others. You might ruin good opportunities because you're afraid to believe in them. You might push away people who care because you're afraid they'll leave. You might choose toxic love because healthy love feels unfamiliar. You might self-sabotage because peace feels uncomfortable. If you don't heal, you repeat cycles disguised as choices. The enemy isn't always people, sometimes it's unhealed wounds wearing your name. Look at how you love yourself. You forgive others easily but hold grudges against yourself. You uplift others while silently tearing yourself down. You tell people they deserve happiness while questioning if you deserve the same. You give advice you never apply. That's because your spirit is tired. You can't nurture others when you refuse to nurture yourself. Healing means speaking to yourself with the compassion you reserve for everyone else. It means acknowledging your pain without building a home in it. It means no longer identifying with wounds that were only meant to teach, not define you. Healing is not warm tea, candles, and meditation, though those help. Healing is facing the truth you buried. It's crying over things you said you were fine about. It's admitting that hurt me more than I showed. It's apologizing to yourself for staying in places where your heart was begging to leave. Healing is messy, uncomfortable, exhausting, and sacred, but it is the only way you transform pain into wisdom instead of baggage. If you give before healing, you give from scarcity and fear. When you heal, you give from overflow and clarity. Pain makes you reactive, healing makes you intentional. Pain makes you cling, healing helps you choose. Pain makes you settle, healing teaches you to walk away. Pain makes you bitter, healing makes you wise. Heal before you give again, not because the world doesn't need your love, but because you deserve to experience your love from a place of wholeness, not wounding. Invest in your growth because nothing changes in your life until you change yourself. You can pray for a bigger life. You can dream of a better future. You can hope for different results. But if you keep living with the same habits, the same thinking, the same environment, and the same comfort zone, nothing new can be born. Growth is not automatic. Growth is intentional. It requires sacrifice, discipline, consistency, and a mindset that refuses to stay where it started. A seed doesn't grow just because it has potential. It grows because it's placed in the right soil, nourished, watered, and given room to break through. Look at everyday life. People say they want success but scroll more than they study. They want confidence but avoid challenges that build it. They want a strong mind but feed it with negativity, gossip, drama, and comparison. You cannot expect a harvest from land you never cultivated. Growth begins when you stop waiting for motivation and start moving with purpose. You don't rise because life gets easier. You rise because you become stronger. Think about finances. You want abundance, but every time money comes, it leaves your hands faster than it arrives, spent on instant pleasure instead of long-term opportunity. Growth means learning to budget, to invest, to multiply what you have instead of consuming everything you earn. Wealth doesn't start in the bank, it starts in the mind. If you don't grow financially, you will keep repeating cycles that keep you struggling. Growth means reading books about money, asking questions, learning how money works instead of just working for money. You can't walk into wealth with a poverty mindset. Look at education, not just school but self-education. If the only time you learn is when life forces you to, you will always be behind. Growth means reading books that challenge your perspective, attending workshops that refresh your purpose, listening to mentors who push you, not friends who keep you comfortable. Growth means being humble enough to say, I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. You can't expect a future you're not prepared for. The versions of you that dream and the version of you that works must eventually meet. Look at emotional growth. If you don't heal emotional wounds, you repeat them in relationships, careers, friendships, and decisions. Growth means learning emotional control, not reacting to everything you feel, understanding triggers instead of projecting them. It means learning how to communicate without attacking, how to listen without defending, how to love without losing yourself. Emotional maturity is not about being strong all the time. It's about knowing why you feel what you feel and making choices from wisdom, not wounds. Look at physical growth. Your body is carrying your purpose, your dreams, and your future. If you don't take care of it, you limit your possibilities. Growth means respecting your health, sleeping enough, eating what fuels you, moving your body, breaking habits that destroy you. It means understanding that burnout is not a sign of productivity, it's a sign of imbalance. Growth means valuing longevity over momentary pleasure. You can't fulfill your calling if you're too tired to walk into it. Look at spiritual growth. You want peace, clarity, guidance, purpose, but you only seek it when life is falling apart. Growth means staying connected even when you're stable, praying even when you're not desperate, seeking wisdom even when things are calm. A relationship with God is not a rescue rope, it's a foundation. Growth means asking bigger questions, sitting in silence, reflecting, and aligning your life with something deeper than ambition